Welcome, everybody, to the next episode of Chiefs Focus First and 10. We're here with JP and Caleb, and we got a special guest on. We got Charles Goldman on, USA Today, the man. What's up, brother?
How's it going, guys?
How you doing?
Just not bad. Just excited for Titans week, right?
Yep, that's true.
How you doing, Caleb?
I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Happy to be here. Another great podcast ready to go. You doing all right, man?
I'm doing good, man. Just I am ready for this game. I know that. I'm ready for this game, and I'm gonna give Charles some time here. I just want to mimic some things I've seen on Twitter today, and then I want to hear your guys' aspect on this. I've seen some guys say, we're going to have to really put a stop on Derrick Henry. And, this has been the big topic of conversation, Derrick Henry. I understand we haven't had a good, we haven't been able to stop the run for the most part, but we haven't had that for 3 years, 4 years, for even longer, since we've lost TJ. Regardless, we held them to 64 yards, I think it was, in that last game you played against them? I think it was 64
That sounds
yards.
about right. Henry didn't get over 100.
Yeah, I think it was somewhere around 64 yards in that range. And we had a horrid pass rush and run defense. And I think, with their defense being in a pretty bad position right now, and the fact that, we can, if we stop Derrick Henry, we have an opportunity to beat them without fail. What's your guys' opinion on that?
I'm going to jump in. Derrick Henry is going to get his yards, right? Like, I don't think there's anything you can really do to quote unquote stop him or slow him down. I mean, the guy's like a freight train. He's 6'3", 250 pounds. He's as big as like the biggest linebacker that the Chiefs probably have. So, you're just not going to stop him. And I think the idea is probably you got to limit the damage, right? You can't let him bust off like a 75-yard run, right? You got to make sure that, like, okay, if he's getting, if he's getting gainers on the ground, it's going to be, 3, 4, 5 yards and nothing more. And then, off of that, you've got to make sure that you stay disciplined for the play action pass, because that's really where they're going to try to kill you. Is when, your linebackers getting sucked up into the center of the defense. And then all of a sudden, he pulls the ball out of Henry's gut and throws a strike to Julio Jones or AJ Brown, one of those big receivers. So I think the linebackers aren't going to have to be focused so much on stopping Derrick Henry so much as containing him and making sure that they don't get beat in the middle of the field with those play action passes.
That makes sense. Charles, got a quick question for you. Sorry, JP, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But do you think they should have possibly faster linebackers out there, such as Dorian O'Daniel, to take the position of Hitchens or Neiman? Because if they're going to do the play action pass, you're going to need a quick linebacker to try to jump those routes. Like, what are your thoughts?
Right. I mean, as much as I'd like to see Dorian out there more frequently, I think that ship's probably sailed for Kansas City. I mean, they used him like very sparingly. I want to say it was against Jalen Hurts and the Eagles. I think they used him on a couple snaps, and he was fantastic there playing the quarterback spy role. I don't think that Tannehill is going to take off and run a whole bunch in this one. I think they're going to keep it to Henry in that play action passing game. But Dorian O'Daniel, I mean, he's small. He's pretty tiny. So, yeah, he is fast, but, like, he's going to be a liability out there if you have him out there trying to tackle somebody like Derrick Henry. So I'm thinking that, they want speed on the field, and they're going to get that in Willie Gay Jr. and Nick Bolton. I know a lot of people have been kind of down on Bolton's coverage, but I think he's probably done, an okay job. He's not like the greatest athlete out there. Like, obviously you're not going to match him up 1-on-1 in coverage against some of these guys that he'll be facing in the next couple of weeks. But I think he's done a serviceable job. And I think there's a chance that he has, in the preseason, he had a couple of coverage drops during training camp where he picked off Patrick Mahomes. I'm thinking he's going to get a pick this week. Like, it's just a matter of time before he has one of those zone coverage drops where he's like in the right spot, the right time. And I feel like it's going to be this week with that play action passing game where he's going to just have that perfect snap where he's in the right place at the right time.
I agree with you there. I think, Nick being in his first season, and I think he's really shown tremendous growth, in 6 weeks. And agreed, he's not, I've never had bad things to say about him. I think he's just grown week after week, and I think he's just going to continue to grow. I think he was a bright spot, and he's going to continue to be. And you're right, he is going to find that magic moment. And when he does, everybody's probably going to get off of him a little bit, off of his back, or I should say off of his back, I should say. But he's been, in my opinion, he's played very well being thrown into a position that, not a lot of guys can just get thrown into and succeed, I should say. That's as fair. Well as he has. We ran it on this show and prior to the season about Thornhill and about Sorensen and the situation and we know some of that situation in the background, but we don't have to get into that right now. But we ran it about a situation with that being said, and it was proven last week that it should have happened, really week 3 after what went on week 2. But seeing the difference between having a Sorensen start and a Thornhill start, and the uplift that it gave Matthew and it gave really everyone else, and the fact that Willie Gay came back. What are your thoughts moving forward with having Thornhill out there in that position more often as a starter and being, with what he proved? I mean, what he proved, we knew he proved it his rookie season. Him and Matthew played very well together, and he did a great job. And we know the injury took him out a little bit, but it was almost an eye opener for, I guess, maybe the coaching staff, but it wasn't so much for everybody else that knew what he had. But what are your thoughts on this?
I think he still has a little bit to prove, right? I don't think it's by any means like said and done there. I think that he's still going to be chasing improvement every week and trying to get comfortable and back to where he was that rookie season. I don't think he's back there yet. I think he's shown flashes that he can still be that player, but there's still yet to be something to click for Thornhill to kind of get him to where he was that rookie year. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm glad that he's out there, that he's doing that. And look, with the whole Sorensen thing, I think that yes, this was kind of overdue, so to speak. There's going to be a point this season where the Chiefs need Dan Sorensen, right? And I think him like taking this step back, I think that's going to be like important for him when that moment comes, because one, it's going to allow him to work, reflect and work on his own game, but 2, it's going to allow him to kind of step into these different roles, right? He was playing some more of that dime linebacker position that they kind of have used him at over the course of the season. And I think that's going to help him with a couple of things he's been struggling with. It's going to help him with the tackling. He was leading the league in missed tackles. I think after this game, he's either tied for it or like second now. But he's doing a better job there. And then I think, allow him to play on special teams where he's been, in the past, he's made some really good plays for us, key plays. I mean, you look back to that play, the sniffing out the fake against the Houston Texans in the 2019 playoff run. Stuff like that. I think that they'll be able to find a role for Sorensen where he's better utilized and can be an asset to the team, as opposed to, when he was out there playing free safety, he was a liability.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Charles. I think one thing I've kind of noticed is Spags was kind of using him into the extent how Bob Sutton was using him. And just hear me out. I might sound a little crazy, but this is kind of how I saw it. When Eric Berry tore his Achilles, I think the week 1 of the 2017 season, Dirty Dan took over his position and he played everything. And he didn't do that great. We had that switch though when it came to Dan Sorensen. Whenever Thornhill was out, they had Dan come in. And Dan, I think Dan is good in spurts, but to give him a elongated task, it's just not going to work out. I mean, Tyrann Matthew shouldn't have to throw up his hands all the time every game. Be like, where were you? That's another busted coverage. I mean, seeing him different like that, it just shows me that Sorensen is great and he can help in certain situations, but there's different things that could be done in order to help him. So maybe bring him on a third down, maybe bring him a second down pressure up the middle. I mean, there's different things you can do. But I think just to completely bench him, I don't think that's not what they're going to do. But put him in positions that's going to make him succeed. What do you have, JP?
I agree. I mean, he's a very utilizable player. It's just it's a situational thing. You have to put him in situational positions that he can be utilized. And again, third down, agreed. Like Charles said, he's done very well in spurts. He did great sniffing out, and sometimes that is blind luck. I mean, you're in the right place at the right time, and you just the ball ends up in your hand. That does happen. I'm not saying against in that playoff game that's what happened, but that has happened in the past with Dan. And I've noticed, and I'll ask Charles this because you and I have talked about this in the past. I've talked to a lot of players over the years, and the one thing that I've noticed with him is he reacts before he thinks. And I know there's a fine line between those two things, especially in the safety cornerback position. But you have to, the reaction time and the time that you, or I guess I guess, let me reword that. He reacts before he reads. And you have to be able to read the play, read the player, read the quarterback, read everything you need to read and react almost simultaneously. And he tends to react quicker than he does anything else. And that's why a lot of times he whiffs tackles, because he's just ready to jump and run before he actually reads what's going on with that play. And that tends to cause issues. Obviously you whiff tackles, you miss everything, and it's almost like you're not there. And the one excuse that I couldn't handle that Spags threw out there was, and you may have heard this, Charles, I don't know if he did or didn't, but in one of the pressers, Spags said, well, you don't know, a lot of people aren't seeing what he's doing when the play is not on his side of the field. Well, honestly, that doesn't really make a bit of difference. If the ball's on the opposite side of the field and the play is on the opposite side of the field, it really makes no difference what he's doing. Okay, it's great, but that's fantastic. He blocks somebody when the play's not near him, but it's what's in front of him is what really matters, and what he's reading in front of him when the ball's in front of him. And that's what I think gets to me the most, is that he just doesn't think before he reacts. And I know there's a fine line between the two. I mean, I stood on that field and listened to so many players over the years say that. What's your opinion on that?
I don't know. I don't want to assume that I know what's going on in his head or what his responsibility is from play to play, but I do know this is, instincts in the game of football, sometimes they can betray you, right?
Yes.
And we saw that on, if, for instance, I think it was the touchdown that he gave up, or the long reception, I guess against what was it, the Bills? Yeah.
Bills.
Where he kind of like anticipated like an out or something, and he took like a false step, and then next thing you know, he's burnt. He doesn't have the athleticism, the speed to catch up to that. And it happens with guys. It's going to happen. Like, there are going to be plays that they're just going to get beat on because your instinct tells you, oh, hey, this is what's going to happen. And I think, that's kind of the beauty of the game of football, right? You're not going to win every snap. You're not going to win every down. But it got to a point with Sorensen, right? It got to a pretty big point with him where, it was happening too frequently. And I think, that's the key there. Him taking that step back, he's going to have a chance to kind of build up some of that confidence again and get himself back to the point where, hey, if God forbid Juan Thornhill gets dinged up in a game and Sorensen has to be the guy to step in, he's going to be able to do it. So I just think that, I don't want to get into like assuming that I know what he's thinking or doing on any given play, but I do know that, at the end of the day, a guy's heart's in the right place. I know that he bleeds, red and yellow, and wants to, be out there and playing for his teammates. And I think this is probably really hard for him to take that step back. But at the same time, I think at the end of the day, it's going to make him better.
And I agree. And I, I don't